Welcome to Graide Talks. Today I'm with Dr. Lynne Taylerson, a Midlands-based teacher, educator, researcher, and mentor, and director of independent provider Real-Time Education. She specializes in digital and AI skills, e-learning development, designing curriculum for teacher education, IT, and leadership CPD. Current Amplify FE work involves insights research on how educators and learning designers design and deploy technology to narrow the digital divide for vocational learners most impacted by it, and involvement in the Amplify FE community space. She tweets at Realtime Edu, and you can find out more about her wider work on the link in the description. Thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure, Manjinder. Nice to see you.
Great. So let's jump straight into it. What inspired you to join the sector, and what drives your passion for its advancement?
Right, it's an excellent question. I think what inspired me to join FE and drives my passion is that actually lifelong learning is why I'm here today. I didn't take what we might call the royal road into education, so there wasn't stellar A levels and a Russell Group University at all. I was in the workplace by age 18. I took some quite indifferent A levels actually, and joined the BBC at Pebble Mill as a sound engineer, then worked my way into digital through that. So I began an OU degree at age 35, and I'd never touched a computer at that point. Important to remember. And it was just so life-changing. I wanted to give something back, and I just had the opportunity to do that. So I went to my local college and engaged in a teacher training course, and a week later I was standing in front of a computing group, access to HE. And I think that's often the way it works in further education. And I think, I noticed the same story with the FE educators that I'm working with. We want to share our craft, we want to pass on knowledge and passion for our specialisms. And what fires my work is that, FE it is not understating it to say it is truly life-changing for the learners. It opens doors, and personally I think being a teacher in FE and skills is the best job in the world.
Absolutely. That's a really diverse background to take you into this particular place. I'm sure that's really driven kind of your decision-making as you move forward.
Absolutely.
As such, could you share a pivotal moment or experience in your career that significantly shaped your approach to education?
A pivotal moment that shaped my approach to education. Actually, that's a really tough question. I don't think there's necessarily one. It's sort of like a mosaic of many of them. I think what really makes a difference for us is watching learners who've had negative experiences in school and completely transforming their lives. So maybe they were bullied, they had ill health or family bereavements, or maybe just disrupted lives, and they thrive in FE given that second chance. I recall one learner, as a matter of fact, if you're looking for a specific example, who moved from a level 1 course, i.e. not a single GCSE above, grade U, to an honours degree at university. And it took this young man 8 years to go through that journey, but it's absolutely inspirational. But I think also seeing, older learners changing careers, developing in their career and gaining confidence and progressing, it's a real privilege to walk alongside people. I think my key message would be that given the right opportunity at the right time, anyone can transform their life with lifelong learning. And we need to give every learner that chance. And I think my tip would be that, yes, we need to build their knowledge and skills, but most often building confidence is the absolute key, and it's the most important factor. And bolstering that confidence and seeing them grow is just so rewarding.
Oh, absolutely. I can definitely see how a traditional system could kind of take that confidence out to the person, and letting people know that learning is a lifelong thing is such an important part of that journey.
Absolutely. So many of our learners have had, negative school experiences, often, through no fault of their own. And it's that second, and let's be honest, in some cases, that third chance that really, can be pivotal for them, at whatever age it happens to be.
We've talked a lot about the benefits here, but in your view, what are the most pressing challenges facing vocational education today? And how do you envision overcoming them?
Right. I think there are many challenges facing the sector at the moment. It is a very complex picture. It's not going to surprise people when I say it's an underfunded sector. We've got a crisis in staff retention, in staff morale and well-being. We've got ongoing impacts of deprofessionalisation, so a bit of a race to the bottom as far as, qualifications go. Do our teachers really need to be qualified is a question I can't believe people ask, but they do. And I think tight budgets mean that often educator CPD is one of the first things to fall prey to cuts, which means that development stalls. The other thing I've seen from when I started in FE back in 2000, we've got a lot more fractional contracts and hot desking, part-time working. And that has completely eroded that collaborative staff room culture that we used to have. And, when I started, I was in a science, maths, computing staff room with 12 other lecturers. And, the amount of mentoring and good practice sharing opportunities we had, which was amazing. And, there's an increased sense of isolation when teachers don't have the time and space to get together. The solution, again, this is going to come as no surprise, increased investment. FE is life-changing as a sector. And if we could revitalise that sector, and let staff know that they're valued and valuable, that's going to grow the skills that we need to power the economy, as well as increasing learner well-being. The one thing I'd say is that compared to perhaps schools and universities, I think that FE in skills is quite shy about banging its own drum. We're quite self-effacing about promoting ourselves. And the one thing I think we could do personally, we can't perhaps influence funding mechanisms, but, we should lobby, write to MPs, make sure that we're telling learner stories. But, we could raise awareness on a one-to-one basis with the people we meet of how important our sector is, I think.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And with social media and other tools like that becoming so much more accessible, I can definitely envisage a place where we're shouting about it to the public a lot more and letting people know what's actually going on.
Yeah, I think so. And I think what will really bring it home is those stories of personal learner journeys, like the one I was sharing, earlier about a student who went from, no GCSEs through to an honours degree. It might have taken 8 years. And that, can really stop and make people think, oh, yeah, I just viewed it as my local FE college where people, go to do a night school in French or something like that. And, and it's just so much more than that.
Yeah, it really, really is. And speaking about that future component, let's move on to some more future-focused questions, shall we? So, what innovative approaches or programs do you believe are essential for preparing learners to thrive in future workplaces, characterized by the artificial intelligence boom that we're experiencing, amongst other technologies?
So the approaches and programs we need to future-proof learners and fit them for our future is digital skills and more digital skills. If I had my way, then digital skills, including developing skills with AI and emerging technologies, will be integrated fully into all programs at all levels, and given equal importance alongside the very important English and maths. And they're not, let's be honest. Digital is often a bolt-on, an adjunct, and the level of exposure to digital skills and tools that learners get can often be decided by an individual teacher's confidence or an individual curriculums team, their enthusiasm for digital and learning technology. And we cannot leave it at that. In terms of a skills portfolio for future workplace, we need to enable learners to build the knowledge to be versatile, really critical users of technology, particularly AI. This is going to go beyond simple things that are in the news a lot, like prompt engineering, and important as it is. Learners need to be able to interrogate the responses that AI and digital tools give them. They need to have the skills to fact check, to check for accuracy, the currency and validity of the information they're receiving. The other thing I think we need to do is to build digital resilience. There is always going to be another platform coming along, maybe a social space, maybe something new that they have to get to grips with in the workplace. And we need to build that confidence so learners can approach new tools and platforms with a sense of can-do and a sense of confidence, and that they're able to select the right tool for the right job and actually reject digital tools that are not going to be valuable for their time or fit their purpose. And I suppose the final point I'd make on this topic is also digital well-being. So the importance of downtime away from technology and how to identify the signs of digital dependency and perhaps the isolation that can come from spending too much time online. So actually, a modern digital skills portfolio is quite a complex thing, which is why I'm saying we need to formalise it into the curriculum.
Yes, I can definitely see that. I mean, the ones you've just mentioned there right themselves could be courses in and of themselves. And it's quite interesting to me how the artificial intelligence awareness and criticality of the responses that are provided is actually quite similar to the criticality of consumption of other types of media too. And maybe there's room for us to bundle those types of things together.
I think so. I think it's important to have a much broader conversation about always being critical about whatever you're told. You know, for years we've been saying to students, please don't rely on Wikipedia. But actually, should you rely on your news channel? Should you rely on your newspaper? Should you rely on the blog that you've just read? Or the response that an AI tool like Gemini is giving you? You know, always question, does this seem right to me? Where and how can I validate it?
Exactly. Absolutely. And, on that point, how can educational institutions effectively integrate that future-focused skill, such as that critical thinking, the adaptability, the digital literacy, into their curricula to ensure graduates are well equipped for the evolving job market?
So how can we integrate those future skills, the critical thinking, digital literacy into the curriculum? I think through top-down and bottom-up approaches, first of all, we need a top-down approach that says this is vital for all students and therefore it will be embedded in the curriculum. That's the only way that you get it done. You know, it's on the government radar, it's on the, dare I say it, it's on the Ofsted radar. So teachers are supposed to be doing it. Just as you would embed things like some maths with ratio and proportion into your class, you are talking about things like critical interrogation of things like social media. And other digital skills. I think we're going to keep coming back to AI in this conversation. Of course we are. And I think that the panic we've seen about learners using AI to plagiarise, it has been the only story, hasn't it, for quite a while. That's generally at the moment been learners using AI to cheat, if we can call it that, on traditional essays and reports. It's a wake-up call, and I think also it's a huge opportunity for us to take a long, hard look at the types of assessment we are using at the moment. We need to move away from those traditional high-stakes assessment, and actually things like exams and summative reports often focus on those lower-order skills, sort of describing and explaining. And what we need instead is some contextualized problem-focused learning and assessment, which really challenges learners to use those higher order skills. So things like analysis and synthesis. And I think that digital can be tremendously helpful here. So using alternative evidence to the typed essay, the written exam, such as blogs, vlogs, narrated video or presentations, animations. It not only makes assessment less prone to AI plagiarism at the moment, I will say at the moment, today, but it also develops real key digital skills and communication skills that are valuable for the workplace, that simply writing another report isn't going to do. And I think it's important to remember that the added benefit is that these assessment strategies and evidence types are going to be far more engaging and they are far more popular with learners than being asked to write just another essay, as well as being less prone to plagiarism. So all of this talk of ChatGPT completing the assignment is a wake-up call, but I think it's also a huge opportunity for us to reframe assessment all the way through education to make it more fit for purpose and develop those higher order skills.
I think that's a wonderfully intelligent way to take a problem and spin it into an interesting solution. And I think what you described there can be quite effective.
I think it's not going to be without...
No, please carry on.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be without challenges. There is a reason that we have these reports and essays. They are extremely fast to do things like quality assurance on. So we're going to have to take people like the awarding bodies along with us on this journey. because, the external quality representatives are not going to be generally as accustomed to looking for validity of evidence in a time-stamped video as they are scanning down an essay. So it's not going to be something that isn't met with some resistance at all sort of stages of the curriculum. But I think it's something that's so important we need to do it.
Definitely. And in your experience, what role does the lifelong learning play in future-focused education strategies? And how can organizations encourage continuous skill development amongst their workforce to maintain competitiveness?
The role of lifelong learning for future education and this need for continuous skills development. I think investors in people. It's that logo. It's something that we hear as a buzzword thrown around, but actually, rather than just being warm words, it needs to be a core part of every organisational strategy. We need to provide the opportunity for all employees to engage with learning and development at every stage of their career. I think that's vital for a versatile, future-proof workforce. And lifelong learning is at the centre of this. And I think it's also important to know the added motivation that staff feel when they feel as if their future is being invested in. That can't be underestimated as a driver for personal effort and also company success. Learning powers, I think, the desire for further learning, and you've got, that virtuous cycle. I'm asking a lot, but I think what I'd like to see is a guaranteed passport to learning for every worker. So they are guaranteed a certain amount of funded hours. And yes, this can be development in line with the company's aims, but it's also got to be in line with their personal needs and interests. And I think when those two sort of meet together, you can see learning organisations. I work for a couple of the group training organisations, the GTAs in Hereford and in Worcester. And I could name, I'm not going to, 7 or 8 companies that truly invest in their workforce, and we see them coming back again and again. And if they're going to be doing any onboarding or development, those companies will invest the time to put the staff through a 6-week teacher training course. Is it absolutely essential? You could argue maybe not, but they're investing it in a benchmark of quality all the way through the organisation. And then when they think, oh, well, I'd like to hone my Excel skills, they come in again, and I see learners going through an intro, an intermediate and an advanced Excel. And all the time, sometimes there'll be a break or lunch, and they'll actually get their own spreadsheets out and they say, look, I've used this. And by midday, they've used some 10 o'clock stuff to make their job easier and more efficient. And that kind of culture of investing in people is absolutely vital to maintain competitiveness, I think.
Especially in today's climate where hiring is very difficult, making sure that you are always investing within your staff and you're allowing them to grow in the ways that they want to grow and allowing them to use that growth within your own establishment can foster a really positive cycle for everybody.
I think, in FE and also beyond, disciplines like engineering, we have got quite an aging workforce. If you look, at the average age, it can be 45, it can be 55 in places. And with new technology coming along, those people need, the investment, but also, confidence building to, some of them are powerful users of technology, but sometimes equally, you've got some reticence and we need to invest in them to overcome those barriers.
100%. Now, we've talked a lot about AI here and there, and I'd like to actually go into a bit more detail. So a couple of questions here on artificial intelligence. As AI technologies continue to advance, what opportunities do you see for integrating AI into educational practices to enhance personalized learning experiences for students?
I think we've got some tremendous opportunities at the moment for integrating AI as far as things like engaging, personalised learning and improved support go. And I would really like to see us focus more on the opportunities that AI affords rather than its dangers. Not that I'm saying we should be unaware of those. AI gives us amazing opportunities as teachers to develop more personalised, engaging curriculum, but also to save our time on mundane tasks. And if we're saving time on mundane tasks, we're freeing up our time and our energy for more creativity. I think probably a couple of examples will help. I'm doing some AI development for teachers at the moment, and it's all in the contextualised examples. We do them live on the whiteboard. Given a key workplace document, for example, some engineering standard operating procedure, something like that, or an important news item from a website, generative AI can create you an assessment or a quiz based on that in seconds. You can have learning and assessment based on the latest industry developments right away, and not on books, which are going to be several years old. AI will do that for you. Beyond that, it will enable you to create bespoke learning resources. So for that assessment that I've just talked about, which was on some SOPs, we can have 3 different challenge levels. So different levels of English language used, different levels of, describe, explain, or analysed. AI can do wonderful things for more playful learning. So I'm a great one for an analogy, if I can even say it. A great one for analogy. So you can go to an AI and ask it to reframe some key concepts. So for example, one that I've been showing students, teacher students recently, is explain electrical resistance using a Premiership football analogy. That is really going to speak to learner. We are speaking to them in terms of their interests. And if another learner just happens to be into motor racing instead, AI will generate that analogy for you right away. And it's just different ways of approaching things. In terms of the more mundane parts of life, it can generate really polished drafts of standard documentation, such as lesson plans and schemes of work. So upload, throw the AI your module guide, and it will create a scheme of work for you. And of course, we're putting the qualifier in here. You need an expert teacher's eye across all of this, the responses that AI gives. And I think the strong message is the AI is not going to replace you, but it can reduce your workload and free up headspace and time for better learner support and for us to do some curriculum innovation.
Now, you've mentioned the concerns around AI, and it'd be good to dive into that in a little bit more detail. So specifically around the ethical implications, they're growing quite significantly. How do you think educators can ensure that AI applications in education promote fairness, transparency, and equity?
It is going to be one of the most important questions of our age, ethical AI. It is one of the key dangers in the use of AI. And it's quite a complex picture we have to consider here. And again, I'm going to advocate a top-down and a bottom-up approach. For me, one of the key dangers is AI's inherent bias. If you walk into a college resource centre, you can find recommended robust texts. They've been sourced by our study centre staff, and they are, valid. We hope current. We hope they're truthful. AI doesn't have that. AI is just reflecting back the content that it finds out online. And the way I describe it is AI is actually holding up a mirror to our modern society. And that is going to include all the inherent bias that we see. So it is going to be biased towards white, European, Western, able, neurotypical sources. And that is not reflecting our FE learner constituency well at all. A colleague that I know asked AI to generate some learner profiles. So generate a learner profile for this HND student. And what came back was an absolute paragon, an A-star learner who was obviously thriving in every way, had tons of outside interests and was a leader in their community. That is not somebody from our typically diverse FE population. So we need to make learners and colleagues more aware of this so that we can ensure they're doing things like writing prompts to minimise bias. So asking AI to consider diversity and diverse perspectives, and then also, of course, be very critical with the responses it gives. So I think on a individual teacher level, we can get across the message of the inherent bias of AI. However, when it comes to things like data privacy on an organizational level, we need to ensure that all organizations are putting in place really robust AI policies, and then providing the staff training to make sure that there is ethical, responsible use of AI. There's some excellent work being done by JISC in particular around this at the moment, and they provide some very valuable talks, such as an AI readiness toolkit in this respect. So there is help out there. So I think it's an awareness of teachers and then to their learners of the issues of using AI in the individual classroom, in each session, but also an organisational approach where we've got robust policies, and those are very, very clearly voiced, and staff have the CPD to address these concerns when it comes to ethics.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that was really insightful. So, in what ways do you envision AI revolutionizing assessment and feedback processes within vocational education? And how can educators leverage AI to provide more meaningful insights into student progress and performance?
In terms of how AI can revolutionize assessment and feedback, I think at the moment it's probably one of the lesser used tools as far as AI goes. I see teachers who are using AI quite a great deal for things like generating plans, maybe generating quizzes, that kind of lighter style of assessment, generating resources that learners can work with. But when it actually comes to assessment and feedback, it's probably lesser used and it's still developing. I think there's a very natural caution against letting AI mark the work. After all, one of the most powerful and valued parts of the student-teacher relationship is getting that personalised feedback from your tutor. So we need to proceed with caution, but there's a lot that AI can do. So we can provide it with assessment rubrics and ask it to make some judgments on work. But I think more to guiding the assessment journey might be a better way to go. So AI can help us to analyse student data on past achievements and also on their learning preferences. The resources they spent most time interrogating are the ones that they liked and valued and enjoyed. And this is going to allow us to create tailored learning paths. It can recommend resources, but also it can adapt resources to suit individual learners' preferences and their abilities. It can allow us to use, very active, engaging learning and assessment, such as simulations and gamified content. That's always powerful and motivational for learners. I think one of the challenges we have in FE is actually giving the learners feedback and support the time that they need it. So learners can receive real-time feedback and support from AI at the time and the place that they're learning. That's particularly important for vocational learners who are often studying and completing assessment, in unsociable hours and fitting in work with busy careers. They might have, if they're working on a maths problem, for example, as we probably all have at some point at 1:30 in the morning with a deadline approaching, they cannot reasonably expect tutor feedback, but an AI can analyse the work they've done so far and give them some hints and, give them some feedback on the quality of their response. AI can be invaluable when it comes to sense checking and correcting spelling and grammar errors, and also making some comments on the succinctness of writing. One of my sins is that given a 500-word count, it will always be 800. And an AI can rip through without, changing your meaning and actually make that more succinct. And that is not cheating. It's actually using the available tools skillfully. I think that, like most innovations, there's pockets of excellence at certain organisations and sometimes even within specific curriculum areas within an organisation. And I think the way that we're going to crack this with AI for assessment is to foster a culture of collaboration, to fully leverage it, to allow tutors who've never experienced this to see the possibilities. It's part of what I'm doing, for the rest of this week, actually taking some AI examples and saying to tutors, what do you need? And we'll fire up Gemini. Or we'll fire up Copilot and we'll actually put it through its paces alive and see what it can do. Because most often people who haven't used it are just looking for instance, something that can make them go, oh gosh, I can use it to do that. And we need to, help educators to see the possibilities, because only then are they going to invest the time, because it's not, an inconsiderable amount of time that needs to be invested to build that digital pedagogy in their specialism and fold it in with what they're already doing.
I think just that emphasis that you've made, which is using AI as an assistant or using AI as an enhancer to an existing process, can be a great immediate benefit and a safe way to transition into that future that we're thinking about. And speaking about that future, looking ahead, what excites you most about the future of vocational education? And what key developments do you anticipate in the years to come?
What excites me about the future, I think we're going to see absolutely huge changes. We keep coming back to AI and technology as our key topics, and the disruption being caused by those related technologies are going to provide us with some amazing opportunities for developing more innovative learning. I would like to see educators being given the opportunity and the time to develop their skills with these tools and platforms. I think it can lead to a new era of more personalised learning that tutors do not have the time to do at the moment. And also, if we can demonstrate powerfully how AI can free up your time, allow you to work more efficiently, then that is freeing up time, it's freeing up headspace for curriculum creativity. I think that technology is advancing at such a fast pace, probably faster than it's ever been. I know we've always said that, but it accelerates still. It's actually more difficult to future gaze to the extent we've been able to in the past, because we don't know, what's around the corner. I think the most important investment we can make is an investment in our teachers, so they're able to become, I call it the C's: curious, creative, and critical users of technology. Curiosity is so key to be able to, take a playful approach to what the technology can do. And then, as you say, able to fold expertly into their existing pedagogy and classroom practice, because that's the way that the learners are going to get the most benefit from it. FE teachers are role models to their learners, so they need to be role modeling how they are using AI. Is this cheating? No, because actually I wrote it myself. I called on AI for some talking points to cover. I wrote it myself, and then the AI spell and grammar checked it and made some of it a little bit more brief. If we can be, modelling what we do in terms of ethics and originality and creativity, then we'll be passing that on to learners, and it's the most valuable thing we can do.
And as we wrap up, what are your final thoughts or advice that you'd like to share with our audience, particularly those who are passionate about advancing vocational education?
Right, gosh. What would I like to share about advancing vocational education? We need advocates, we need champions at the moment. The sector, many places are in rather a depleted, demoralised state. We need to come together as teachers and managers and lift each other. We need advocates, so people who can articulate the life-changing impacts that lifelong learning can have. I think we are too modest. I keep coming back to this theme that as individual practitioners and often organisations, we are too modest about the life-changing achievement that FE can make. I think one of the ways we can raise the profile of FE is by undertaking and disseminating more research into our practice. We often think of, and it's true, that the majority of academic research into education happens at schools, about schools, and is done by people at universities. In the middle, we've got this whole sector, the research is not going on into key practice and excellence in further education and skills. And when I say FE and skills, I think it's really important that we are saying this is not just the large college in the middle of town. It's the independent training provider. It's the absolutely invaluable adult and community learning, things like going on like in Sure Start centres. It's prison education. It is all of those things. So I think we could do well to better publicise the huge variety of the sector, and also that adults are always learning, even if it's a half-day course in the workplace. That's FE, that's lifelong learning. And, there is research to be done into this, and that's one way of raising the profile. One of the organisations I've been involved with is the Learning and Skills Research by FE and skills tutors into FE and skills practice, and then disseminating that and actually shouting about the amazing thing that we do. Research shouldn't be confined to universities, and there is, a growing bedrock alive and thriving in FE, and I think that we need to promote and celebrate that.
Absolutely amazing and incredibly inspiring. Thank you for your time. And lastly, how can our audience connect with you to learn more about your work in the vocational education sector?
How can people connect with me? Well, I'm always keen to grow my professional network. So I'm really, really active on social media, particularly on Twitter or X. I still insist on calling it Twitter. Sorry. It's always Twitter to me. You can follow me at realtimeedu. I'm also on LinkedIn, so reach out and make contact with me there. If you visit the Real Time Education website, you'll also see that I keep a regular blog that I write, which is quite AI heavy at the moment. And, however people wish to reach out, that's brilliant. And I think that probably in the comments to this session, you're going to share my link tree, which has got all of the contact ways of getting in touch with me, Manjinder. And it's been a real pleasure talking to you.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you for the time.